right, it's Jared Moore here again with Meet the Candidate for the MCN election in 2021. Today's candidate is James Jennings. He is the incumbent for the Okmulgee Seat B election. And without further ado, Mr. Jennings, could you just introduce yourself and tell everybody maybe about your experience on the council and what you have planned for your next term?
Thank you, Mr. Moore. My name is James Jennings. I'm currently the incumbent for Seat B for the Okmulgee District. I was first elected in 2005, served until 2011, was off the council for 2 years, re-elected in 2013, and serving to present. So it's approximately 13 and a half years that I've been on the council. I have served on the Health, Education, and Welfare Committee every year that I've been on the council. That's the only committee that I've been on. I've enjoyed it, been a part of the accreditation for the College Mvskoke Nation. And so in the health, we've been through health hard times and currently are doing very well with our health system. So health, education, and the welfare of our citizens is a big part of it too. As far as my future, I plan to continue doing just what I have been doing, serving on the, hopefully if I re-elected, I'll be on Health, Education, and Welfare Committee again. So I don't know what you want me to tell them currently, but right now, a little bit about myself. I am a product of the Indian boarding school, having went first through 12th grade, graduated from Sequoia High School in Tahlequah. I'm a veteran of the United States Army, serving from 1967 to 1970 as a military policeman. I went through a apprenticeship program through the local Carpenters Union in Tulsa through my GI Bill and became a apprentice cabinet maker. I've been married to my wife, Joyce, for 53 years. We have 3 sons, 5 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren. So that's a little bit about myself. Thank you, sir.
Well, and I wanted to thank you for coming on the program today. And we also just had a comment in the chat that I want to echo. Mado for your service, sir.
Thank you.
And I want to remind everybody out there watching in the chat, if you have any questions for Representative Jennings, just pop them in the chat and we'll ask them. I'm going to go ahead with my first question, which is, what is your opinion of the COVID response from the Creek Nation government so far? Do you think it's been enough? Has it been too much? You know, do you think in the next coming terms of the council there's going to be a need for more COVID response for the citizens, or what's your opinion on those things?
Well, I think that the Department of Health has done a great job as far as the COVID, and just like this morning, I seen Secretary of Health, Mr. Terry, being interviewed on the local news station about the new health center we have in Tulsa, about that being able to do the infusions in the future for those that do contact COVID. I think that the nation and Department of Health has gone above and beyond for the COVID relief and taking care of our patients. And you know, we don't have a big hospital, but we do send them elsewhere when they do contact COVID. So I think it's been a good job.
Okay. Recently, we've seen that the Attorney General for the state of Oklahoma is challenging the reservation status in court, and with the aim of eventually having the United States Supreme Court overturn that decision. What's your opinion on that? And also, do you have any plans as a councilman to bring any legislation in relation to McGirt, like taxes or anything at all that maybe you have coming down on that? What's your ideas on that?
Yes, sir. And as far as the McGirt ruling, and you know, the state Supreme Court has made a ruling, and you know, I don't agree with it, but as far as the Attorney General and the governor for the state of Oklahoma, I think they need to just leave what is alone. And then for the future, everyone has talked about taxes. I, for one, did file for an amended return for 17, 18, and 19, and was denied. But I know of others that have received a refund for those years that they filed for the amended returns. So, along with McGirt is the Indian Child Welfare, and I think that that is a big issue, and I think, this is my own opinion, is that a lot of this, or all of it, needs to be held in the tribal courts and taking care of the native kids. So, thank you.
Okay. You were mentioning that you filed your amended return on there. We had the AG on a while back specifically about the tax issues a few months ago, and he was kind of outlining the process that citizens could file for these to get their taxes back from the state and all that, and they would get a letter and they would challenge it on up to the state Supreme Court eventually. There has to go through these administrative hearings. Is that something you're going to pursue, or are you just going to let it lay the way that it is now?
No, I am not, but I think the Attorney General's office has filed.
Oh, okay.
Of a citizen, to get a case or whatever you want to call it,
If there's laws or code that the nation has to have to support those efforts in the future, are you amicable to voting yes on those?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. Is there anything with your campaign that you want to talk about that's a specific issue that you want to get out there to citizens? Give you a little time right now if there is anything that you'd like to speak about specifically that maybe isn't on my list of questions.
Hey, I don't make any promises, and I will be accountable for what I do while I'm on the council. Like I said, I've been on here 13 and a half years, and I've missed one council meeting during those 13 and a half years. So I feel like that I'm dedicated, and I've become knowledgeable of what's happening around the nation. The first 2 years that I was on there, it was a learning process, but over the years I've gained a lot of knowledge about the council and the tribe as a whole. And, I feel like that I'm very knowledgeable in the legislation that takes place.
We've had other incumbents on the Meet the Candidate series, specifically Miss Yehola Osborne was kind of talking about in the future trying to repair some of what she's perceived as the rifts between the executive branch and the legislative branch, that the two are kind of quarreling right now. What's your opinion on that? Is that something that needs to be fixed, or is it working the way that it should?
Well, there's always been difference of opinions from the council and the chief. I can speak personally for my dealings. I try to communicate and work with the executive branch. This isn't the first time. Going back to when Chief Ellis was in office, we had 26 members on the council at that time, and I think we were in court about every month. I mean, there was, I think, 11 different court cases that
Yes, sir.
involved the council and the chief. And then through the Tiger administration, the council took a vote of no confidence against Chief Tiger.
Yes, sir.
And so, currently, they're I think that it could be better as far as the relationship between the chief and the council, but I think that it'll work out. This is a year and a half into Chief Hill's administration, and I think that we can look for better things in the future.
Okay. Well, I don't see any questions in the chat, and we've kind of talked about everything that you would want to talk about. I'm kind of running low on questions myself. What do you see as on the legislative horizon for the council? After the election and everything else, what is going to be the next big things that come through the council? And do you think, if we're looking in a crystal ball?
Yes, sir. I personally, and I sponsored legislation a year ago, August, to do by district voting again. And if I'm reelected, I will try to bring that legislation forward to the vote of the people. It would be a constitutional amendment.
Right. So on the by district voting, what's your motivation for that? Like to go from the at-large voting to the by district. What effect would that have, or what effect are you trying to get with that?
Well, I think it's equal representation. I think that currently the larger districts can control who are in some of the less populated districts. And then, it's just like the city of Okmulgee, they don't vote for the mayor of Tulsa, no. So I think that the people should vote by district of who represent them, that they know. Some people don't know, who the representatives are sometimes. But I just feel like it would be a equal representation.
I see. So, and do you think that would come in the next session of the National Council? Is that the idea for that? Or is it just kind of like in the future?
Well, I think in the future.
Okay.
Sometimes in the future.
Well, we're at 11 minutes. I want to remind everybody in the chat, if you want to pose any questions for Representative Jennings, you can pop them in there. We're going to keep talking for a little bit to give anybody that wants to put any questions into the chat in there. Let's see, what can we talk about? That's not... How has your campaign been going so far? Have you been speaking to constituents, and what's the feedback that you're getting?
Yes, so, the forums, I didn't go to the forum at the Roundhouse. I had a previous engagement, so I didn't go there, but the rest of them I've attended. I've done an online forum with a group from California, and then Miss Barnett had a forum, and they were from Dallas, I think, the night that, and I had a community meeting that I had to go to. I didn't have to, but I'm elected to represent and not campaign, so I couldn't make it, and then I did respond to her answers, and she read them at a later date. So I have a current issue with my mail outs. I paid to have them sent out, and the ones locally are receiving them, but the ones out of state are not receiving my mail outs currently. So that is a big issue for me.
I see. We've had a question pop up while we were speaking in the chat. I'm going to read it verbatim for you. What legislation have you written and put up for a vote in your time on the council? Not only things you've sponsored. And has any of your legislation passed? How has it helped the nation?
Okay. One that comes to mind is I wrote and sponsored legislation for the widows of veterans, Creek widows of veterans, that they would retain that vehicle tag. If the veteran passes away, then the wife would still be able to have that veteran's tag. And so that, to me, was a big benefit to the veterans and their wives. So.
Okay, great. And any other questions you guys have, just pop them up in the chat there. For me, one of the things that I think we're going to see going forward too is we've got a lot of projects that were built using the COVID money that's going to have an economic impact on the tribe. Do you know of any economic things that are going to go through as legislation here, maybe something being built that could come in the next session that maybe you've had a hand in, or what is your opinion on that? Does there need to be more economic development, or should we hang back for a second?
No, I feel like we should go forward with our economic development. In 2000, I'm trying to think, 13, I think it was, when One Fire Holding was developed.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back into office in 2014, and One Fire to me hasn't performed like I thought it would. I thought it would be that One Fire Holding would purchase companies and be a majority stockholder in these companies and hire Creek citizens to benefit, the nation, not only economically, but to hire our citizens. And that hadn't came about. It turned into more of a loan company.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is something that I've been concerned with for a long time. In the future, I'm not sure, but we do have the processing plant that is about to open up on the 1st of October, thereabouts, and they're having a hiring event, or have been hiring people to work there. I think that is a good venture for us, and a good use of the COVID monies to construct that. So, you ask about other projects, so behavioral health, the Safe in Place building, the PP&E buildings are all great buildings, and a great benefit for the tribe. And just my personal thoughts would like to see happen would be possibly a drug treatment center, not just come visit the doctor today and go home and come back next week, but to house them and have units where they could stay for 60, 90 days to get the good drug rehab. So, if anyone in the Creek Nation has not been affected by drugs, they need to count their blessings, because every family has dealt with it, I would think. Thank you.
We've had a question pop up while we were speaking. I'm going to read it to you verbatim here, sir. Where do you see the nation moving forward in the future? Would you support renovations for our Mvskoke rural churches?
I see the nation moving forward. Yes, I do. And becoming a greater influence in the state of Oklahoma. As far as our traditional churches, the LNC committee currently has a $1 million annual budget that they provide grants to the churches, and I think it's up to $50,000, and I think that's a 10-year grant. But if you apply every year, you can get up to $5,000. But I think that Land, Natural Resource, and Cultural Preservation Committee has done a great job assisting those traditional churches and grounds with their upkeeps of their buildings.
Okay, we've had another question pop up. Would you support legislation to amend our Constitution to bring marriage equality to our nation?
I don't think I want to answer that.
Okay. And everybody in the chat, any questions you guys want to pop in, we'll ask them. We're getting close to 4 minutes and 20 seconds, though. So let's see. What do you think are the major issues aside from McGirt that the tribe's facing right now? Like, what's the big hurdles that we have to overcome?
Well, like I mentioned before, the Indian child welfare, that's part of McGirt, but that was an issue before McGirt too,
Mm-hmm.
and so we need to continue to support that and do what we can.
Well, specifically with that issue, though, do you think it's a funding issue? Does there need to be more put into programs for that, or is it we need to reassess how we're doing our things?
Yeah. Well, I think that somewhat on the lines that the Light Horse Commission was enacted here recently. So, I would think that, we may need to look into that to have some of those advocates for the Indian child welfare to maybe form a commission to also help with the placement and how these kids are treated.
Yeah, because that seems to be our problem is we don't have enough homes to send the kids to. It seems to be what we hear a lot with coverage of this. And I was just curious as to whether, so if we have a commission, the idea would be that the commission's going to generate the ideas of how we can try to solve the problem. Is that what?
Yes, sir.
What I'm hearing?
The one issue has been the foster parents, people that are taking them in and stuff. But, that's not the whole problem, but it is a part of it.
Okay. Well, we're at 4 minutes, it's 4:21, excuse me. Have we touched on everything? Is oh wait, we had a question pop up. I'm going to read this question. What about child adoption outside of the Mvskoke boundaries, out of state?
I know for a fact, that it does happen. Referring back to Miss Thomasine Osborne, she
Yes.
did adopt out of state. So, are they questioning?
I read it. That was the whole question right there. So,
Yeah,
so it's happened. I would ask. I think it's Cam Frank. I would ask you. Can you form it into a question? Do you think that? Are you asking Representative Jennings for like an elaboration on what he thinks ought to be done, or because we spoke about that, and it sounds like what you're saying is you're advocating for a commission that's going to come up with more solutions, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the idea there. We got about 8 minutes left. We started about a minute early, so let's see. Here's a question that has been asked before by citizens in chat. What's your opinion on the festival being canceled for the second year in a row?
Well, I've always been a big supporter of the festival, going back to years when we held it at other places, we haven't always had our own rodeo grounds or our softball fields. We held it at Henrietta, out to the when the blacks had their rodeo arena out south of town, we used it, So I was somewhat disappointed, but we've also had this big spike in Okmulgee schools,
Yes.
didn't go to school in the classroom. They went virtually last week. So you have to think about all the citizens and the COVID issues. I'm disappointed that it happened, but better safe than sorry.
Indeed, I agree with that sentiment totally. We've had a question pop up here. Mr. Jennings, could you state your religious affiliation, clan, and tribal town?
Yes, I am Baptist. My clan is Bear Clan, Mvskoke, and my ceremonial ground is Arbika.
Okay, we had another question pop up. Can you speak to why the issues relating to ICWA have not been rectified by the council yet? Has there been inaction or obstruction?
It's a bit. I I'm not sure that I can answer that.
Well, let me read it one more time, and we'll try to see if we can piece it together. Can you speak to why the issues relating to ICWA have not been rectified by the council yet? Has there been inaction or obstruction? I think what Mr. Perryman Carrington is asking is the situation that we're in with ICWA. Is it a situation where the council hasn't done something, or is it something where it's not a priority item, or what's your opinion on that?
Well, I can't recollect that, anything has been brought forward, concerning ICWA that I'm aware of. I'm totally in support of it, and I don't think the council has been an obstruction to its performance.
Okay. Let's see here. And I don't see any questions. We are at 5 minutes left on the thing. Again, if you're in the chat, you got any questions, make sure and get them in because we're running out of time here. Let's see. What else could we ask about? What is there anything that you'd like to speak about since we're kind of like at this lull of questions?
Well, I would like to speak a little bit about the College of Mvskoke Nation.
Sure.
I've served as ex officio for the Board of Regents for the College of Mvskoke Nation for 10 years. And so I've gone through the accreditation process, the building of the first building and the dorms. And so we've built another building and are in the process of building a third building. And so, I look forward to the day when it's a 4-year college, so you can get your bachelor's degree also there, not just an associate's. So I would like to encourage everyone to support the college.
Absolutely. And it's had a large impact on the community as well. Like you see so many Native students going through there, and they can also study things that are related to tribal government and other things where you have to go. It's very hard to find a college that teaches those subjects in the first place. So.
Yes, and so that being said, so they've started an online language course for this fall. So that will be a big help with promoting our language programs.
Great. Well, I don't see any questions popping up here. We got 3 minutes left. Do you have and I know we spoke before, it's like you're not really an online person. Does your campaign have an online presence, though? Do you have a website or a Facebook or anything like that you want to mention for people who are watching?
No, sir, I do not.
Oh, all right. So, well, I do want to thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate it. And in the future, now I believe is there only 2 candidates in Okmulgee, or is there 3? Do you know?
4.
There's 4. I'm sorry. So we will be doing a runoff for November in your district, barring you have a landslide or something. So we'll be reaching out to you in the future, because what we'd like to do between the September election and then the November election is to do another forum with the 2 remaining candidates, where we kind of talk about issues with everybody in a Zoom meeting together and have kind of a roundtable with both of the candidates. Oh, we've had a whole bunch of questions pop up in here. Okay, they're trying to get them all in at the last second. Let's see here. Let me read some of these and see which are questions and which are statements. Litigation. Here's one. What are your views on Friedman? If this is too touchy, I understand.
Well, the Friedman is still an ongoing litigation, with the tribe and the Friedman, so I won't make any comments on that.
Okay, no comment. There's a comment in here about DHS, but I think it's just a statement. Mr. Howard, if you have a question, we got about a minute. You can try to pop it in real quick, but it looks like that's just a statement that you've typed in there about the litigation. Mr. Jennings, again, thank you for tuning in today, or coming in today and doing your interview. I think it's a real good thing for the citizens to be able to come in and ask any questions. And also, one of the great things about this is we're doing it where we're minimizing contact between people. So maybe if somebody doesn't want to go out to a forum in person because of this situation with COVID, they can watch this and get a good idea of your campaign and who you are and what you're running on. So we had one question pop up. I'm going to ask it real quick and then we'll sign off. Would you support establishing distance learning opportunities and degree programs which are even more in line with job trends?
Yes, I would. I would. And then that will depend on the accreditation for the college for those online courses at the college. It's a higher learning consortium that will have to agree for the college to do that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you the last word, sir. You can have the closing statement, and then we'll sign out of here.
Well, thank you, Mr. Moore, for allowing me to come in and try and answer these questions. I hope I got them answered correctly, or how
sure.
people.
I think you did it good. Yeah.
I appreciate you doing this.
Sure thing. Well, Mado, for coming in, and Mado, to everybody out there watching and posting their questions, we're going to sign off for today, and then we have another candidate scheduled for tomorrow. I believe it's John Killingsworth. And then next week we have 2 more candidates, so keep an eye on our channel and you can tune in when those candidates are coming on and ask them their questions. But until then, Mado and Chihichat Lees.